Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Gerald Tabb. If this is your first time viewing the podcast, when you get time, go back and view previous episodes. This episode is going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to kind of entail a few things and give my view on my podcast. Number one, I want to always say that growth is number one, and that's my main goal is growth. I'm not a quitter. I don't give up. I don't think I have the ability to give up, because I'll try to give up on something and then I'll give up for a day. Next day, I'll think of something else and I'm back trying something else. So this podcast came from ideas. Everybody's doing a side hustle, but nobody really wants to invest in that side hustle. Me, I'm a little bit different. I have a little bit of extra money and a credit card, so I can kind of get stuff here and there that I, probably shouldn't be spending money, but I do. I'm fortunate. But so I've been kind of doing this podcast thing for about, it's been about 5 months. And I've kind of struggled with the scripts. I've struggled with the equipment. I've struggled with even my voice. I'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. But number one, I want to say that anybody can do this. I'm a rideshare driver. Okay. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, I get up at 3. And then I, get my stuff done. I work from 4 until 12 or maybe 1 o'clock. Come home, make my lunch and everything and breakfast for the next day. And then I'll do an episode and then relax and then off to bed or whatever. So, I just want to say that just to let people know that it can be done. And I do episodes every single day. So, my studio is basically in an apartment. It's, how to describe my apartment. You walk through the front door, you go straight, there's a picture window. If you make a left, then it's kind of got like a dining room. It's kind of like an L-shaped apartment. And then the galley kitchen. So what I did was, when you come in, like I said, it's L-shaped. My couch is right there, TV. And then when you make a left, right up against the wall, I put all my podcast equipment, the desk, computer, mixer and a mic and stuff like that. And I've gone through having, I had a HyperX, regular microphone was like $30. Used it for a minute, and it was a good microphone. It is a good microphone, but I wanted a more richer sound. I wanted to sound like other podcasts. I wanted to bring my listeners professional sound as much as I could. So I kept brainstorming, because that's the kind of person I am. I can't get over something until I figure it out. It can be years down the road and I'm still thinking of it, trying to figure it out. And I do that with everything. So I was thinking about that and looking at other podcasts, Blind Boy being my favorite. And then I kept looking, I'm looking at YouTube videos and everything else. And to fast forward a little bit, I used that microphone for a minute, and then I ended up looking, and I was going to get a Shure microphone. But when I looked it up, it said the Shure microphone was, I think, I think they had one for like 95, but the doggone XLR cord for it was like 175. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that. It's a good microphone. Don't get me wrong. Great microphone, should I say. So I kept looking, and then you're on Amazon, they show you different stuff related to what you're looking for. So I scrolled down, and I saw this microphone called a Fi-Fine. So I looked at it, and I said, okay, this is kind of a close match to Shure. Everything I wanted. It had the XLR port, the controls on the microphone, all of this other stuff. So I said, price was $79. So I got it, and they said, well, usually people get the XLR cord with it. I said, well, why not? So I got that. Well, let me take that back. I got the microphone first. Then I got it and I used it, and I'm still kind of trying to get that sound, chasing down that sound. So I used it for a minute, and then I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm not getting the sound that I'm looking for. So I looked online, kept looking and looking and looking. I happened to run across the Fi-Fine mixer. I said, man, maybe I get a mixer. So I looked it up. It's pretty cheap, but it's like $59, I think. Can't beat that. So I got the mixer, and that's when I saw the XLR cord. So I said, usually the Amazon, when you buy it on Amazon, I said usually people buy this with it. So I said, oh, okay, I'll get that too. Got it. Let me tell you, what a game changer. Between the Fi-Fine plug-up with the USB and the Fi-Fine plug-up with the XLR cord, totally different. You get a much richer sound when you plug it up through the XLR cord. Now, I will say, just to warn you, if you're planning on getting a Fi-Fine mixer, there are no controls and EQs and all that other stuff. You just can control, the volume of the mic and the earphones. But when you plug it up through the XLR, you get a much richer sound. And when you get the microphone, it has a pop filter on it, a little gray pop filter, which a wannabe pop filter, I'll say. And it gives you a lot of plosives. So what I ended up doing, and I just figured this out, like, I think it was yesterday. I don't know why I didn't think of this. I must have had brain fart or something. But what I did was I got the regular microphone pop filters, the ones that slip right over the microphone. They're on every microphone, little styrofoam thing just fits right over the microphone. So I ended up getting some of those from the Guitar Center. I got them a little while ago when I was trying to figure out something else. But what I did was I layered them on top of each other. It's going to take like about 3 of them. I layered them on top of each other, and then I put them over the little gray wannabe pop filter. You don't have to use the gray wannabe pop filter that comes with the microphone. You can take it off and use the regular pop filters that are layered up, put it over the microphone. You may need one more. You may be good with 3, but you may need one more because you don't have the little wannabe pop filter. But when I put them on, it got rid of the plosives. And I really want you to understand, if you're listening to this podcast and if you're listening to it up until this point, the whole time the microphone is literally like centimeters away from my mouth, and there are no plosives. So I'm getting the the sound that I want. So I finally figured that out. So I finally figured out the mic, got the sound I wanted through the mixer with the mic hooked up through an XLR cord. So I also want to mention that when and if you get the mic, understand that when you plug it up to your to the mixer, the power button, you don't even need it anymore. It doesn't light up. The power button only lights up when you hook it up through a USB. So because when I got the mic and I got the mixer, I hooked it up and I was freaking out because I'm like, I did something wrong, the thing ain't working, Amazon sold me some more junk. So, and then I said, man, I sat down there, took a deep breath. I said, okay, let me figure this out. And there's a button that you have to push for the microphone to work. If you have the mixer, it's like the second button from your right. And that cuts the microphone on. So, and then you have like, you can change your voice to electric or, whatever. You got a couple other buttons. I think those are for, you can record like little snippets and stuff like that. But it's definitely a great mixer for I think it was $59. But my point is that number one, I strive for growth. Growth is the number one thing that I will not let anybody else get in the way with. And with this podcast, I want listeners to understand that I'm constantly striving to bring better quality episodes. So don't think I'm just sitting around just recording junk and just posting it, So don't get that. And actually, something else I want to say. Another issue that I was having as far as my podcast is concerned, and you'll know this if you go back and view previous episodes. Right now, I'm able to record an episode the way I want to record it because I'm not having to keep clearing my throat. And I've had that issue forever, but I've never really paid it any attention because I wasn't doing a podcast. But it seemed like I was always constantly having to clear my throat. But then when it came time to do my podcast, it was like I'm trying to do a podcast and every, fourth word, I got to clear my throat and, my voice sounds all scraggly and it sounds a mess. But as I said before, growth is number one. So the way I look at it is, my voice, it's not the greatest, but here's the way I look at it. I'm putting out episodes, so I'm further than the guy that's still thinking about putting out episodes or who is, kind of procrastinating about putting out episodes. The trick to doing anything is just do it. Just start doing it. You'll start doing it. You'll start looking at things differently. You'll start figuring out things and trying different things, getting better, figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work. And that's the road to success. The road to success is not sitting there thinking about it and just not doing anything. I would rather you put out, garbage episodes that I can see that you're getting better than to just not do anything. So that was another issue with my podcast. But surprisingly, this one episode is where I've been able to talk continuously without having to constantly clear my throat or my voice sounding scratchy and all this other stuff. And I'll tell you what I kind of did in that process. Finally, I went and I was taking allergy medicine, and that was garbage. So I ended up, I think it was yesterday or the day before that I was sneezing and nose was running, everything. And I went and got some allergy medication from the store, a little bit of a better brand, and I started taking that, and that was okay. But then I kept trying to figure it out, because like I said, I can't let something go until I get it figured out. So today I was driving around doing my ride share, I'm thinking like, okay, man, what can I do? And I thought about it, and I said, well, I read somewhere that when you have to keep clearing your throat, it has something to do with acid reflux. So I've never really thought too much about acid reflux because I don't have heartburn. So I said, well, maybe that is acid reflux, maybe. So I said, well, let me run by the store and I'll pick up some Tums. And I really had no faith in them that they were going to work, whatever. But I went ahead and bought them and popped a few on the way home, popped one when I got home, and I was preparing the other episode that comes out today with this one. But I got them, and I got my studio put up, because I just built the studio today. And basically, I forgot to tell you guys about that. It's basically on Amazon. I think it's like $189. It's a sound. It's called a soundproof booth. It's not soundproof, but what it does is it creates an environment to where your voice doesn't bounce off of all the walls and whatever else is around you. So you have a completely enclosed booth where, if you cut your TV off, if your heat cuts on and off, if you cut that off, whatever, and you can create a quiet environment in your house or room or whatever, then once you go inside the booth, then it works pretty good. It's not, you can't have your kids running around outside out the booth and you ready to get a refund on it because it ain't soundproof. No, it's not soundproof. It just creates a very dry environment for your voice to live in. So as you're doing whatever you do, singing, rapping, whatever you do, it creates a dry environment, the same as a studio booth would do. But a studio booth is 100% soundproof. For $189, which is still a little expensive, but I feel like I got my money's worth, because the material that it's made out of is pretty good, and I'm sitting in it right now, of course. But definitely, if you want reviews on products, let me know, because if I have it out, I'll let you know if it's garbage or not. I also have the the Troy Studio. Those are good, but it's basically a Troy Studio is just a padded box where you have the foam that you usually see in a soundproof booth inside. So basically you have to kind of stick your face right in there to kind of get an environment, like a soundproof environment. I also bought one of those round sound cones that you put over a mic that creates, it gives your mic a sound. It's like your mouth, like your mic has its own sound booth. And those are okay. It's not a bad deal. But if you're planning on starting a podcast, if you're upgrading your podcast, I would go with 5-fine mic, 5-fine mixer, XLR cord, and the soundproof booth on Amazon for like 100. They got them for like 169, 189. I wouldn't get the more expensive one for 500. The one for 189 is perfect. You know, for somebody who's average everyday working person who's, you know, doing whatever, a podcast or whatever, singing or whatever, in their free time, the booth will do perfect. You know, just to save you some money and some heartache also. And for those of you who want to know, I also use WavePad. And see, what I do is I record my episodes on WavePad, and then I'll send them over to Adobe Podcast Cleanup. I get it off Adobe Podcast, and on my usual podcast, I'll add music to it. So I upload it to Clipchamp. And the reason I do Clipchamp is because Clipchamp is easier to just click on the music track or the voice track and change the volume. So I usually do that, and then after I'm done with that, I'll upload it back to WavePad, and that's when I'll do my set of processes: EQ, compress, reverb, what they call it, normalize, and then after that, then I have a finished podcast episode that's ready to upload. WavePad is free. There's a few options they won't let you use. Right now, they just switched it. So it's good to get it right now because they just switched it. Now they have a video editor with WavePad. So and it looks pretty decent too. And then that just came out. At least I just got it yesterday. So that seems like it's a good deal. Seems like it's pretty professional. I like using WavePad because it works for me because I figured out how to use the free version and make it work for me. And just a hint for anybody who goes to use WavePad, when you go to the different things like EQ, because I had a huge problem with EQ, trying to adjust everything. Just go to any of that stuff, just go to the visual. And then the visual is much easier to adjust than trying to sit there and adjust, 20 knobs like you in a producer studio or something. So, but that'll be it for this episode. I just wanted to give the listeners an update on the progress of the studio for anybody that needs inspiration, anybody who's struggling with their podcast or trying to figure out why they're not getting the right sound and what they're doing wrong and why their podcast doesn't have that rich sound like other podcasts or whatever. I don't know everything, don't get me wrong, but like I said, if you listen to previous episodes, further back the better, you'll see that this podcast right here that I recorded after I figured out the whole pop filter thing, after I got my soundproof booth that I'm in right now, will sound much different than the other ones. It sounds much better, which shows progress. And that's my goal, is just to bring better episodes to the listeners, because the viewers are what make any podcast. And I appreciate viewers for even taking time out of your day to listen to my podcast. And for the ones who have been on the journey of my podcast, I definitely appreciate you. Thank you for viewing my podcast. And, just know that I'm constantly racking my fucking brain trying to get better. I mean, I'm beating myself up. I mean, literally, like, I usually sit there for like maybe 4 or 5 hours battling with, these computer programs, trying to get something that brings value to viewers, that, and it's really frustrating sometimes, but it gets done. I've finally figured out my little niche type deal. So now I'm kind of getting it done. I was struggling with the sound. Now I got that done. I was wondering about my booth, trying to figure out, okay, why am I not sounding like, why is the general podcast sound not sounding like, other podcasts that have this rich sound and yada, yada, yada. So I finally got that figured out. So as far as my voice, I think I got that figured out, because I've been doing this whole podcast. It's been 26 minutes and I haven't had to clear my throat yet. So I think I got that figured out. So I think we're on to something here. So thank you for viewing. I wanted to give you an update. I hope everybody is having a great day. I hope that my podcast episodes can be inspirational. I'll continue to say this. Growth is number one. Nothing else matters.